Bruchim habaim, welcome one and all to our fabulous lecture this evening with our good friend and lecturer Sassy Reuven, the raid on Entebbe, which has gained a lot of popularity in our community since we started the message on social media, and it was actually very impressive. Before we start with our lecture, I want to share with you a short Dvar Torah, a short word of our parsha this week. As everybody knows, we just finished Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Simchat Torah was just a few days ago on Sunday, and today is the first week of when we read the first parsha in our Torah, Parshat Bereshit. And the Rebbe asked a very simple question. Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So the Rebbe asked a very simple question. Why does the Torah start with the letter Bet of Bereshit? We know that in the Aleph Bet, first there's Aleph, then there's Bet, then there's Gimel. So if that's the case, we should have started the Torah with the letter Aleph. It's the first letter of the Aleph Bet. Or in other words, as the Rebbe put it down in the Sicha, Elokim bara bereshit et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. God Almighty Elokim, which starts with the Aleph, created in the beginning the heavens and the earth. So why is it, if we have our Aleph Bet that starts with the letter Aleph, and we have our Torah, which is the most precious commodity that we have as a Jewish people, why don't we start the Torah with the letter Aleph? So here the Rebbe gives a beautiful explanation. And the Rebbe says the following. The reason why the Torah starts with Bet of Bereshit is to give the message that before Bet, before learning the Torah, there's an Aleph. There's another step. There's step A, step Aleph, and step Bet. So step Bet is Bereshit bara, but before that, there's step Aleph, the first step. And what is that step? That step is the recognition and the knowledge and the acknowledgement that there's an Aleph, that there's a God Almighty who is the creator of the world, who is the giver of the Torah, who gave us the Torah, who gives us sustenance and gives us life. So the Rebbe says, before you start learning Torah, before you start doing mitzvot, before you start doing what you need to do as a Jew and as the responsibility of a Jew, of a Yid, know and understand that God Almighty is from where everything starts out, from where everything begins. He created, he gives life, God gives sustenance, God gives existence to the world, to the creations, to human beings, to animals, and to plants, and to all of the creation from A to Z. And therefore, having said this, that is one of the reasons why in the morning, when we say Modeh ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam shachzarta bi nishmati bechemla rabba emunatecha, that is the first Modeh ani, which means it's thanking God. The first moment when a person gets up, that he's thanking God for giving him back his neshama, for giving him back his life, for giving him back his sustenance, so he could be able again to start behaving and conducting himself according to what Torah is asking us to do. So it's a very important lesson, and it's a very important part that one needs to maintain in one's life. That at the end of the day, God leads us in this world. And whatever happens, we need to turn to prayer, to turn to God, in order to place God and to make God part of our life. Not that God is outside our life or outside our everyday responsibilities. God is part and parcel of our everyday conduct. And when the person knows and recognizes that he's not alone, and that he's following a way that has been given to us from father to son, a way of Torah given to us from father to son, from generations upon generations, since the giving of the Torah of Mount Sinai, and a person knows that that is his priority in life, then his life will be more of important and impressive and an existential life. He'll be able to exist and to be able to survive and to be able to go through all the ups and downs and the roller coasters that life may throw at him or at her, because he knows that at the end of the day, I'm not alone. I am not alone. You know, there's a famous story in the Talmud that this child says that he was going with his father together on the beach, and he saw two sets of footprint, and as he's going on the beach, he sees two sets of footprint that are like that are going in front of him, meaning and understanding that God is one set of footprint and he's the other set of footprint. And at one point, he sees only one set of footprint going along by the side of the beach. And at one point, he turns up to God and he says, you know, God, you promised me that you're going to be always with me. And I've seen these two sets of footprint, but now all of a sudden in my vision, I only see one set of footprints. So what happened? Why did you leave me? Why did you forsake me? And God sends a message. I never forgave you. I never forsake you, my son. And I never I never gave up on you, God forbid. When you saw one set of footprint was a time when I was carrying you on my shoulders, when I was uplifting you on my shoulders. And therefore, I think it's very appropriate that we have a lecture on one of the most historic hostage saving that we have from any military group from around the world, that the IDF did something which was absolutely phenomenal. Without any further delay, I'd like to give tribute to our sponsor of this lecture, which is the Ben Weider Memorial Lecture Series. Our school, which is the Chabad Seminary Ben Weider Educational Center, is named after one of our very, very prominent members of our community who passed away. And I would like to give a short bio on Ben Weider, who he is and what he did, for you to understand what kind of phenomenal man this man was. So Ben Weider passed away about 12 years ago, but his vision remains very alive. Born in 1923 to Jewish Polish immigrants, Ben and his brother Joe are best known for creating the $500 million worldwide fitness and bodybuilding empire that encompasses fitness equipment, training manuals, magazines, and health products. Ben oversaw the marketing and of the business, founding and growing the International Federation of Bodybuilders from a fringe activity into a worldwide fitness phenomenon that includes more than 173 countries. After 52 years of lobbying, this charismatic and persistent man, Ben Weider, achieved his dream of having the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, formally recognize bodybuilding in their curriculum. In their memoir, Brothers of Iron, Joe addresses his brother's accomplishment as such. Ben did better than train diplomats with degrees from the best universities. He used his eyes and his ears and his brains and his heart. He just knew. He felt it. He knew what he was doing. Ben died at the age of 85, 1 week before his collection of Napoleonic artifacts was to go on display at the Montreal Museum of Fine Arts. This man of kind heart and iron will have accumulated over 66 awards and honors during his lifetime, including the Member of the Order of Canada in 1975 and officer in 2006, the French Legion of Honor, as well as several honorary doctorate degrees. In 1984, he was nominee for the Nobel Peace Prize. He also served in the Canadian Army during the Second World War. In 1998, Ben gifted the building that houses the Ben Weeder Educational Center, the Chaim Mushka Seminary, which is our organization, also on Westbury Avenue, allowing the school to be centralized in one location for the first time. The Weeder Empire and the seminary have similar missions. I remember once saying this to Ben. Both were built on compounded results, which means when our teachers teach the students at the seminary, each of those students will become a teacher, who in turn will teach another group of 25 students, who in turn will again teach another group of 25 students. So Ben explained me, by supporting the Chaim Mushka Seminary, the Chabad Seminary, each student who is a potential teacher will be teaching 25 students, and the compound will just go on and on and on. Ben taught groups of trainers the Weeder style of training, and in the same way also, those trainers were training others the Weeder system as well. The seminary trains teachers in the ideals of traditions of Torah and customs of Jewish heritage. Both share their knowledge with communities around the globe. Ben would teach me about the history of the world, and I would teach him about the Jewish history. I would speak to him about the great sages of the Talmud, and he would tell me about the mighty men of the world. I remember I used to go to his office. We used to put on the tefillin, and we used to say the Shema Yisrael together. And it was a time that he would take for himself. I remember I was talking with Ben's wife not too long ago, and she told me, you should know, Rabbi, those moments that you were with Ben in his office were moments that he took for himself. He would leave everything alone, no phone calls, no emails, no messages. He would just take this moment for himself. He would put on the tefillin. He would cover his hand with the eyes. He would say the Shema Yisrael. He would say a little prayer for his sons, Louis, Mark, and Eric. He would say a prayer for his wife. He would take that moment just for himself. Okay, so now that we've introduced and gave you a little explanation on Ben himself, I want to just give you a brief description on the seminary. Our seminary, which is the Chabad Seminary, Chaim Mushka Seminary here in Montreal, trains young girls from the age 17, 18, and 19 to become directors, to become youth leaders, to become teachers here in Montreal and across the world. We have approximately 1,350 alumni around the world. These alumni are directing centers, community centers, Jewish centers, youth centers, and are making other people's lives a better life. Our campaign this year, which will take place on November the 18th, is entitled, the slogan, Act to Impact. We're asking and we're turning to the community, please act. Please donate so that we may impact. We may make an impact on other people's lives so that other people could live a flourishing life. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce our moderator. He is no stranger to our lectures. He has been with us for the last few lectures, and we all know him. You all love him. A native Montrealer, Aaron Reimer, began his business career after studying engineering at the Technion and commerce at the Concordia University. Fluent in 4 languages, including Hebrew, he began his business career as a purchasing agent for Nirvana Management Consultants. In 1976, he was asked to take the helm at the then ailing division Fleur de Lys warehousing, and in short order, Mr. Reimer established Fleur de Lys as a formidable force in the Quebec warehousing market, and for at least 2 decades, the company was an industry leader. Aaron, his wife Deborah, and children live in Montreal and Israel and are active participants in the community, supporting a wide range of institutions. He is the proud grandfather of 5 grandchildren. During the 1973 Yom Kippur War, he volunteered joining the Foreign Volunteer Corps to assist Israel during the time of crisis. Most of his work was logistical and transport, especially for the delivery of food supplies to the Sinai campaign, as well as the then captured Egyptian Third Army. He has co-authored a book of the life of Joseph Yehuda Reimer, a yet to be published biography of his father. And ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the moderator for tonight's evening, my good friend and a good friend of the community, Mr. Aaron Reimer. Thank you very much.
Shalom, everyone. It's definitely an honor to be here with you tonight and to introduce our guest speaker, Sassy Reuven. I just want to make a brief mention that in one of our previous lectures, we had the famous last Jewish gangster known as Myron Sugarman, and it was through his introduction that we came to know about Sassy. So we want to give him credit for the introduction as well. Sassy Reuven, also known as Sasson Reuven, was born and raised in Beersheba, which, by the way, is the sister city of Montreal. So it's our twin city in Israel. He joined the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, in 1973. Sassy served in the Red Beret Paratrooper Brigade Unit, where in July of 1976, he participated in the raid on Entebbe, a counter-terrorist hostage rescue mission codenamed Operation Thunderbolt. And no, that's not James Bond, but close to it. Flying thousands of miles over enemy territory to rescue Jewish hostages being held by terrorists in Uganda. Sassy's story is a story of Israel's courageous fight to live in freedom and God's miraculous hand in its survival. After receiving his engineering degree in 1984 from Brooklyn Polytechnic, Sassy traveled to Los Angeles, where he served as the director of security for El Al Israel Airlines. There he met his wife Susan and settled in Calabasas, California, and raised 3 lovely children. After his family, Sassy's greatest joys are sharing his account of freeing Jewish hostages in Entebbe and operating his construction development company. And before we start, I believe our technical people and Yossi will introduce a brief video, and we will continue. Take it away.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just want to wrap up the evening. I want to tell you, Sassy, thank you very much. It was an unbelievable, riveting evening. We got a first-hand account of what actually happened. And I just want to finalize to say that we're starting the new year. We're starting our year now, Tafshin Pei Aleph 5781. And we're starting with a very important message that at the end of the day, God is the one who instills the miracles and makes the people of Israel continue and makes all of humanity continue. And for this, I'd like to make a l'chaim on Israeli wine. Look, this is Israeli on Batan. Israeli.
Oh, Batan is kosher. L'chaim.
Omet habracha baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hadafen.
Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim, Rabbi.
Before I finish, I just want to get everybody, Yossi, if you could put up the poster of our next lecture. Our next
1 second,
lecture
Rabbi.
will be,
Rabbi, one thing.
sure.
I want to suggest everybody what I learned from Chabad is to put tefillin every day. It's the best thing
That's
that happened to
beautiful,
me.
fantastic.
Best thing that happened to me to put tefillin every day. This is a miracle. A miracle, I promise you, it's a miracle. People think they need to read a lot and pray a lot. It's 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
Beautiful.
And good luck to all of you.
May it bring you much mazal. So again, thank you very much, Sassy. Our next lecturer will be on December the 3rd. We're inviting Mr. Stephen Rambam. He's a PI, a private investigator, and he's a known Nazi hunter who actually convicted Nazi criminals who shot innocent Jewish people during the Holocaust. As a matter of fact, he has a fascinating story about our community, Montreal community, where there's lawyers in our community and members of our community who actually assisted or actually helped to prosecute and bring to justice a Nazi criminal. So please stay tuned on December the 3rd for our next lecture. And now we will play a final song of Misheberach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, a very special blessing for the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, Tzva Hagana L'Israel. And before I finish, I want to thank Yossi Cohen, my son, for being the IT and taking care of all the IT and everything that had to do with pushing the right buttons at the right time. I want to also thank my secretary, my EA, my executive assistant, Miriam, for a fabulous job that she's done as well. And of course, last but not least, I want to thank our moderator, Aaron Reamer, who did a fantastic job, as he always does, to moderate this event. Yossi, Mishe Berach Avotenu, please take it away. Thank you very much, everybody. Shabbat Shalom, and see you next time at our next lecture, December the 3rd.